I just wanted to show you guys, it's such a nice day. Before I start my actual video, I want to show you how pretty it is. Can you guys see? It's such a beautiful day. Anyways, I wanted to show you guys because today's video is going to be about the pros and cons of living in Lebanon. And I just thought it would be appropriate to show you some Lebanese scenery before I started. So today I'm going to be doing a video about Lebanon, which is where I live. So I'm just like looking out the window because it's such a beautiful day. And so I'm wearing some yellow to brighten up the video. And I just can't stop looking outside. Anyways, I think I found like the perfect lighting in my house. I don't know if you've noticed, but every single video that I make, I like switch places in the house that I'm in. And it's because I'm always looking for the good lighting, you know, like the natural, the natural good lighting. And I think I finally found it. Anyway, so in today's video, I'm going to be talking about pros and cons of living in Lebanon. Of course, from like an American perspective, so my only point of comparison is the United States, since that's where I'm from. So it's pros and cons, but I guess in comparison to living in the US. So I have a list on my computer as usual. And I'm just gonna say a pro and then I'll say a con to kind of like contrast for the most part. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh yeah, and just by the way, in case you didn't know, I moved to Lebanon in late August of 2019, so I've been here around 6 months. So I've definitely had time to acclimate and to get used to things and to like observe what I like and what I don't like about living here. I'm living here temporarily for probably the next several years for educational reasons. My husband is in college here and I'm also taking Arabic classes here, so we're both trying to get something out of this experience, and yeah. Okay, now we'll start. There's my cat, by the way. Every video she pops up. The first pro of living in Lebanon is the beautiful scenery, as I showed you in the beginning of this video. Like for me in particular, I live in an apartment that overlooks the Mediterranean Sea. So, I mean, the whole country runs along the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea. So there's always a beautiful view, almost not anywhere you are in the country, but almost anywhere you are. And because the country is filled with mountains as well, if you like live somewhere up in the mountains, then you will most likely have an amazing view as well of like the water and just the surrounding areas. A con is that while the country has amazing scenery, it's not well taken care of. So there's like a lot of trash all over the place. So like if you go to a beach, there's tons of trash, unless it's like a beach that you pay to go into, and then whoever takes money for it will be probably responsible for cleaning it. But if you just go to an area that's like by the water that is not like a payable beach, then you will most likely find a lot of trash, and just like along roads there's tons of trash. Things are just not well taken care of here. But yeah, so you have the beautiful scenery, but then you also have trash all over the place. Hey guys, so I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm at the beach and oh, almost fell. Okay, and I just wanted to show you what I was talking about like the trash. Like, it's such a beautiful day and such a beautiful place, but look at the trash here. And it's just like along the whole shoreline. It's really sad. There's some like right in front of me. Yeah. Okay, so another pro of living here is that cost of living is extremely cheap in comparison to the US. So, and also like we have property, or we rent property that overlooks the Mediterranean Sea. And in the US, if you have like waterfront property or a property that's like right near a body of water, the price is going to skyrocket. But the price of renting this apartment is extremely cheap, like in comparison to what you would get for this amount of money in the US. In fact, I don't even think you'd be able to rent an apartment for the amount of money. Just for reference, so like when I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Massachusetts, which is where I'm from, last year, the rent cost a little over $1,000. It was like $1,100. It wasn't an amazing area. It was not an amazing apartment. And so that was like pretty cheap rent, and I split it with a roommate. But this apartment, which is 3-bedroom, it's in a really nice area, in a really nice complex. It's $300 a month. And yeah, so it's just like miles cheaper. However, of course things are cheaper here, like cost of living is cheaper overall, but also if you live here and you have an income coming from Lebanon, you're gonna be making way less money. So that's a con, right? If you have an American income coming in and you're living in Lebanon, or if you have like an income from another country and those incomes are generally speaking more than what you would get in Lebanon, then you'd be living lavish. But if your income is coming from this country, then like $300 a month is like, you know, normal. While property is cheap in Lebanon, apartments, if you get an apartment that's not furnished, which we did, apartments here do not come with basic amenities. Like in the US, if you rent an apartment, it comes with a fridge, it comes with a stove, it comes with like closets, like basic things, right? Here, that is not the case. In the beginning, when you first get here, there's gonna be like a lot of money going into like furniture and like basic amenities, like I was saying, but it kind of all evens out in the end because then your rent is less than it would be in the United States. So pro of living here would be, so there are a lot of Muslims here, and for me at least, it's like very refreshing to be in a place where I'm surrounded by a lot of Muslims, and like it's really nice to not feel like the odd one out, which is how I often would feel in the US, like growing up in a place that didn't have a lot of Muslims. So it's refreshing to be here, and also to be like able to go out and then like see a mosque, you know, when you're just like driving down the street. So you see a mosque around you and like, you know, okay, well, if I need to pray, I can go to that mosque and go pray. I don't have to pray on the street. And it's also nice to have halal food at easy access wherever you're going. That's like another benefit of living in a place with a lot of Muslims, is a lot of restaurants serve halal food, and it just makes life easier. Now, a con, in contrast, is that when you come to Lebanon, if you're American in particular, people become very curious about why you're here. And they almost ask you in like an accusatory way. They're like, why are you here? Like, you're from America. Like, why would you choose to come here? Like, they glorify America in a way that they cannot even imagine why somebody would step foot in Lebanon, especially if they're not Lebanese, which is my situation. So it's just like sometimes it can be like, oh, like I'll just explain to you why I'm here, but other times it's like, it's almost as though the person is accusing you of doing something that you shouldn't have done. I don't know, it can seem a little bit nosy. But then I guess a pro of being here, which could also be kind of twisted into a con, is that people here glorify Americans, like I was saying. So if somebody finds out you're American, you're gonna have a certain privilege that other people won't have. Like, they'll treat you like in a special way. So if you're an American and you're here, you're gonna be like, people will kind of throw special attention at you. So I guess you could say that that's a pro, but that's also kind of something that shouldn't be happening. And the reason is, so while they do, like a lot of people here do glorify Americans, they also have like major prejudices, is that a word? Okay, prejudices about people who are from other places. For example, so, you know, people from Lebanon often, when they see like an Ethiopian woman, for example, or like a South Asian woman, for example, here, people, especially women, but people from those places are treated kind of the opposite. So while an American might get like special privileges or special recognition or whatever, a person from one of those places is going to have the opposite. They're going to be treated worse than everybody else. And the reason for that is there's like a culture of servitude, I guess, here that doesn't, I mean, it does exist in the US, but I think it's just like a little bit different. So a lot of people here who have money will have like a live-in Ethiopian or South Asian or some other like Asian or African descent person, like as a live-in maid and live-in nanny. That's like common here. It's not, of course, not every person with money has that, but it's a common thing. And so because of that, oftentimes when people see an Ethiopian woman or a South Asian woman, etc., they will assume that that person is a maid, and then they will treat them as a lower class person. And A, the problem is that they're making that assumption, and B, another problem is that you're treating somebody who like does a certain kind of work as inferior to you. So yeah, so that's basically the con. So if you are somebody who, you know, looks Ethiopian or is Ethiopian and you are here, people might treat you in a way, or like overlook you almost, like they just assume that you belong to somebody, that you are the servant of somebody, and that's the reason that you're here. So then the next topic, I guess, that I'll broach, I'm gonna start with a con and then talk about a pro. So another con is that the Lebanese government is very corrupt, and that's become more focused on in the media lately because of the protests that have been occurring due to the bad choices of the government, and they don't allocate their money properly. They've caused a lot of problems in the country, actually, especially since I've been here. Like for example, in the fall, there were a lot of wildfires in Lebanon, and the country had the equipment to take care of them, but they had not properly allocated their money to maintain this equipment, and so therefore the equipment was not able to be used, and a lot of land was destroyed. So people were really upset about that, and that, along with other like dumb things that the government has done, like in the past year, but also like before now, is heavily what sparked protests that have been happening like almost since I arrived, or since October. And so I guess then a pro would be, while the government is corrupt, their bad choices has inspired people to stand up for what they, you know, think should happen in the government, and start protesting and letting their voice be heard, which I think is a good thing. I mean, there should be people in the country who are advocating for change. Oh my god, my foot fell asleep. Okay. Now, another con though is that while these protests are good and they're advocating for themselves and trying to get change to happen within the government, the way that certain people, a lot of people I would say, have been going about protesting, I do not approve of as somebody who lives here. So a heavily used protest tactic here has been to block off main roads. So like during rush hour, in the morning, in the evening, and throughout the day, to like go to the main highway. There's like one main highway in Lebanon that runs from like the top to the bottom of the country, and they go to this highway and they block it off. They block it off with roadblocks, and these roadblocks are like usually burning tires, which like I can't imagine that's good for the environment, on top of it just being an enormous nuisance, because they're trying to protest the government, but what they end up doing is actually punishing the people who live here. It has prevented my husband and my brother and my sister-in-law from all going to school. It's prevented us from like being able to go to places that we wanted to go. Like for example, we were trying to go to Tripoli last month. We couldn't make it there because of a roadblock, and there was going to be more throughout the day. So it's been a huge nuisance to have these roadblocks occurring, and also just like I said, I don't think good for the environment to be burning tires. So while I think that the protesting in general is good, I don't think that the way that they're going about it is good at all. And I just think it's not productive. Okay, so another pro of living here is that if you are trying to learn Arabic, of course, like an Arabic speaking country would be the place to be. Of course, like being in Lebanon with this goal in mind is definitely where I'd want to be, as opposed to being in the US, where like people around me don't speak Arabic as much, and I would only be exposed to it in class, whereas here I'm exposed to it like anywhere I go. That being said, like it does take a lot of courage to like talk to like a store merchant person, or like to just talk to somebody random on the street, because like chances are I'm not going to be able to understand what they're saying, because they're going to be speaking quickly, maybe using slang words, stuff like that. So you have to kind of force yourself to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is like my biggest problem with learning Arabic. But I would definitely rather be here than be in the US. So it's definitely conducive if you have that goal in mind. It can be next to impossible to order something online here, because there's just like no real, as far as I can see, like established mail system here. And so like I don't have like a real address. Like I live in an apartment complex with a name, so like I can get things ordered to my house, but like the apartments don't have numbers. Like you just have to tell them what floor you're on and like what side of the floor you live on. Like so there, you don't really have a real address. And if you do want to get something ordered to you, you would have to either order it to a nearby store and like have an agreement with the store that you can go pick up your mail from them, or you would have to rent out downtown like a PO box kind of a thing and have your mail sent there and then pick it up from there. And that costs money. And it's just like, why is there no way for me to get mail delivered to my house? I really don't know. Now, a pro of having a mail system that doesn't work, or no mail system at all, is that because you can't just like order things online, like shop online easily, this forces you to like go out and explore your surroundings, get to know your surroundings, get to know the marketplace here. Like it forces you to then go out and interact with people, whereas like it would be very easy to just like order things and then not have as many interactions if you lived here, if the mailing system worked better. And also, like, while mail delivery is not like easily accessible here, it's very easy, and a lot of restaurants do this. Like it's very easy to order food here at no cost. So you can like order food from a restaurant and then they'll deliver it to you for free. So like and you can also order from like convenience stores and like grocery stores, and they have like delivery people, or there's usually like a delivery person around who can like go to different stores for you, and the cost of delivery will be like little or nothing. Okay, then another pro, but it could also be construed as a con, is that bargaining culture is really big here. So if you do go to a store of any kind and you don't like the price that you are getting, you can most likely bargain the price down. That being said, so it's a pro because you can like make things cheaper. That being said, like things are not at a set price often. So often, like if somebody sees you come in and they realize that you're American and they realize that like you're not from here, then they might raise the price on you, so that like because they know that maybe you're not used to bargaining, you won't do it. So you have to be good at bargaining, and you have to be comfortable like with bargaining and comfortable with the idea of doing it, which can be difficult for some people. And the last set of like pro-con duo is, so as I was saying earlier, everything is cheaper here. That includes food. Food is way cheaper here. I spend way less on groceries than I did, spend way less on groceries for me and my husband than I ever did buying groceries for just myself. This is my cat. Okay, for just myself in Massachusetts, I probably spent a bit over a week. Or like every time I grocery shopped, I would spend a little bit over 100, like usually for a week or a little bit more. And here we probably spend around like maybe $50 every time we shop, and it's for me and my husband. It's not just one person. So if you're somebody who even if you spent less than that in the US, like let's say you spend $80 each time you go grocery shopping, here you'd be spending like probably half that or less. So food is really cheap here. However, one thing I will say is that I have found it harder to cook here than it is in the US. I have found that it's hard to find like things that come in like pre-prepared packages. Like let me give you an example. So at Trader Joe's, I used to buy riced cauliflower, which is basically cauliflower that is taken and made into tiny little pieces. Like it's like teensy tiny little pieces, and then you can stir fry it and it can kind of become like rice. Things that are already like prepared like that for you, they're just not as common here. It's more difficult to find that kind of a thing, if not impossible. So you have to kind of do all those things for yourself. And if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of time, like a student or something like that, it can kind of be like demotivating if like to actually cook and make something. So having those like conveniences of having like pre-prepared, pre-packaged food, fruit that's taken out of the rind, for example, like pineapple or melon that's like already cut up for you that you can buy at a store, as opposed to like buying the whole melon. These are like conveniences that you have in the US, of certain pre-prepared foods that you cannot find here. And if you're accustomed to cooking with those like pre-made, seasoned, pre-whatever things, you're not gonna find those things as easily here, and as a result you have to know how to season things yourself. You have to know how to prepare things yourself, and if you're somebody who's not an experienced cook or just doesn't love cooking, then that can be difficult to do, and you have to become creative and like kind of learn more about cooking than you would need to in the United States. That's what I found. That concludes my pros and cons of living in Lebanon as opposed to living in the US. And I hope that this is informative if anybody is planning on traveling here or planning on living here. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into what life is like living here. I can't say that my pros and cons of Lebanon really speak for all of the Middle East because every country is different, but I do think that some of these things are applicable to other countries in the Middle East as well. So if you're planning on going to a different country in the Middle East, this could be helpful as well. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel to show your support. And yeah, I will see you guys next week, next Tuesday. I post new videos every Tuesday. Yeah, so I'll see you guys later. Bye.